there are at least two distinctively different ways to live our lives. Let's look at them and let's see which we choose and why. G'day and welcome to Small Steps Through Life. Today we're at Mana and I'm looking at the idea of the different ways we can live our lives. In our society there is two distinct ways. One of them is the idea that there are rules for everything, and if we follow those rules, things will go easier for us. The question is, how far do we follow it? If the rule is, don't cross the road unless there's a pedestrian crossing or there's a safe crossing point, it's easy to know. And it makes sense, it keeps us safer. Okay. Well, what about the idea of you should pay your taxes? Again, makes sense, makes our life easier. Okay, so there's some very strong things that if we follow them, become quite advantageous to our lives. The tax man doesn't like it when we don't pay our bills, and when we cross the wrong part of the road and get squashed, it's not good for our health. But what about the rest of our lives? How do we decide what to do at work? Do we always do what the boss says, or do we think about it? If the boss says, I want you to make 500 widgets, that's easy. If we can do it, we can do it. But what if he says, I want you to ignore your boss and do it a different way? Okay, so let's say you've got two managers. What do you do then? And that's where the idea of always doing what you're told starts falling apart at the seams. It's the same idea as, how do you care about your health? Do you always do exactly what your doctor tells you, or do you do something different? What does something different look like? Let's take the doctor's visit idea. You go to the doctor and you say, I don't feel well. And he says, here, take these tablets. And you think, I tried that last week. And if you say nothing, but just do it, then you're going to get the same result. But what if you said, I'm going to think about this. I'm going to decide whether this is a good thing to follow or a good thing to question. So we question and say, I did this last week. All right. Okay. So now what you're doing is you are part of the governance of your own life. You're choosing what to do, why you're doing it. Is it harder? Yes. You've now got to participate. You've got to consider, why are you doing it? What are your gains? What are your risks? If you followed the doctor's instructions and said, okay, I'll take those tablets, and you got sicker, you've got the excuse. You can go to the doctor and say, I followed your instructions and I got sicker. Okay? You've got something or someone to blame, a system. If you took ownership and it worked, then you're ahead. If you said, I don't think I agree with this, can we do something else? If it doesn't work, you're partly to blame. And I'm not saying that in a mean way. I want you to think about the idea that whenever we make a decision and choose to do something slightly different than we're told to do, then we are taking accountability for good and for bad, which is why we often don't. It's why we often follow instructions, because it's easier. We've got somebody else to blame. But which is better, having somebody else to blame or being the author of your own life? I'm not saying ignore everybody. I'm saying listen to them, evaluate. But ultimately, the person who's got to live your life is you. If it goes wrong, you're the person who bears the brunt of the problem. If it goes right, you're the person who bears the benefit predominantly. So if that's the case, then why not own your life a bit more? Which way do you live your life? Do you just follow instructions, or do you evaluate? Do you refine instructions? Do you look at them as an opportunity to learn and then consider, and then choose an action. Think about it, and on that note, I'm going to say, see you later.